Oh my God. Oh my God. Get me out of here. There's stuff literally burning on all sides of us on the way out here. This intense. Oh, go, 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 go. There's stuff literally burning on all sides of us on the way out here. This intense. Oh, go, 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 go. Hurry up, people, go. Move, people. In horror.
That's where this is getting out of control. Those little demon embers. It is a much different story out here right now. This was ground zero around 6 o'clock last night. Embers were flying over our head. Huge embers, small embers. It was glowing. It was hot. This is what I'm talking about. Embers flew about a quarter to half mile away over to this hillside and immediately turned it into that lava effect that Steve referred to earlier. It looked like lava.
She said when she was leaving her house, there were basketball-sized embers being thrown from this fire pit.
Unbelievable.
That's where this is getting out of control. Those little demon embers.
And why you showing us that is it's the example that we've all been describing throughout the day, that the winds with those kind of embers just keep this thing moving.
This event was the worst case scenario. It's the event that we have feared for a long time. And over the course of the years, we have worked hard to develop a plan to evacuate people in this event. That said, you need to understand that factors can exist that make even the best plans not perfect or not the exact outcome that you want. And in this case, we had a fire that was moving very, very rapidly, being pushed by some very, very strong winds.
Are heavy here, even when they think they have this under control. Embers fall on another house, blown in by these strong winds, start another fire. The number of evacuees is expected to rise as embers push ahead of the fire. One evacuation center was even forced to close down as the flames spread. And just west of here, another blazed up the hill fire, topped 10,000 acres yesterday. This neighborhood was being inundated with embers falling from these fires overnight. This neighborhood, 15 to 20 houses burned here overnight. This is one of them. This was all driven by these wind-driven embers falling down into this neighborhood, just suddenly lighting up a home. Others around it were standing. Here and there, homes have been destroyed.
So, listen, Don, as I understand it, we were aware that there was a fire burning, say, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon yesterday in the area, but overnight, things changed dramatically. What happened?
Put it down to the very dry conditions and very strong wind gusts up to 55 miles an hour. From over to the west of us overnight, driven by the winds, embers were falling into this neighborhood. put it down to the winds and very dry conditions.
Have you talked to anybody in the neighborhoods? I mean, I'm guessing that most people decided to get out of Dodge, but are there people that are still there?
The neighborhood has been evacuated. There was one man here last night who came running down the street, alerting people to a house that was suddenly on fire, alerting fire crews to a house that was suddenly on fire up the street. But generally, no. People have left here. It's too dangerous. This fire moves very quickly. That's why people are gone. This fire moves very quickly. That's why people are gone. This neighborhood was being inundated with embers falling from these fires overnight.
That's where this is getting out of control. Those little demon embers.
This was all driven by these wind-driven embers falling down into this neighborhood.
Officials describing a scene of mass devastation. Thousands of structures are destroyed. Video shows an entire school on fire with half the sign burned away and several homes up in flame. We have team coverage tonight on the fire and the smoke pouring into the area.
We begin with KPIX5's Andrea Borba, who is on the fire lines in Butte County. Andrea?
Well, Ken, I am standing off of Highway 99 here in the town of Durham right now. We are miles away from the epicenter, ground zero, up in the city of Paradise right now. But there were flames burning here earlier today. Along Highway 99, red and blue flashing emergency lights disappear into a glowing, ferocious haze of orange flames and smoke. Miles outside of the town of Paradise, the wind-driven campfire is chewing, unchecked, through miles of bone-dry tall grass.
Good idea. Ready? Yeah. 3, 2.
David filed this report from the first scene in Paradise, California.
It has been 24 hours since the fire exploded here in Northern California, and it is still windy. That's a storage center behind me. People drove through hell trying to escape. Their homes and those of their neighbors burned to the ground. Those of their neighbors burned to the ground.
Everything is burning up around us.
There was very little time for the 27,000 people who live in Paradise to evacuate.
Everything was ignited. By the time I got out of my house, it was like everything was on fire.
There was very little time for the 27,000 people who live in Paradise to evacuate.
Everything was ignited. By the time I got out of my house, it was like everything was on fire.
It is a disaster. We saw those cars that people abandoned as they felt trapped and decided.
Everything was ignited. By the time I got out of my house, it was like everything was on fire.
Officials tell us firefighters used their own shelter kits to shield civilians from the flames.
We're talking devastated.
Dwayne D'Amico, a retired engineer, escaped with his dog.
Paradise, I don't know. When I left, it was all on fire.
So we have spent most of the night riding around this retirement community of Paradise, and I got to tell you, most of the town looks like it's been wiped out. Gail, what we don't know is how many people may have died in their homes because they just couldn't get out fast enough.
There's certainly more to come, guys, when you look at that story.
We have some breaking news from California where Paradise is in ruins.
The Woolsey fire, which is not far from the scene of Wednesday night's mass shooting in Thousand Oaks. Which is not far from the scene of Wednesday night's mass shooting in Thousand Oaks. Not far from the scene of Wednesday night's mass shooting in Thousand Oaks. Our John Blackstone is in Oak Park, California, where firefighters battled the fire through the night.
The intensifying Woolsey fire has quadrupled in size in just hours. Firefighters are doing their best to battle the raging flames as they jump from one house to the next.
With these high winds, it's really hard with the ember cast that's happened. It's really hard for us to save some of these homes. So what we're doing is putting a water curtain in between some homes to stop the fire from leapfrogging and catching other homes on fire.
30,000 people have been evacuated so far. We were there as flames overtook another Oak Park home, despite firefighters' efforts. Big problem firefighters are having here, even when they think they have this under control. Embers fall on another house, blown in by these strong winds, start another fire. The number of evacuees is expected to rise as embers push ahead of the fire.
I used to fight fires in CDF back in the 70s and 80s, but I've never seen anything like this.
Do a search for the Tubbs fire on the FEMA website, you get almost zero result. There are no images, no articles, no references. I found that to be a little bit odd, given the scale of the operation there. I guess it's still under investigation, but no images. Except for this one mention in a summary of 2017. You can see where it's mentioned on the bottom of this segment here. But I don't know. Found it to be a little strange. I ended up on the FEMA website doing an image search for these curious molten metal flows. This is from the Valley Fire in 2015, California. I don't think anybody was paying attention to this stuff back then. I certainly wasn't, but I've been catching up on some metal properties, the viscosity of molten streams, and heat and temperature, and just been studying the shape and form of these flows, and I don't know, it's just something's not looking right to me, and I don't want to get too much into the detail, but I just find it odd that it can flow for that long, given that the ground temperature should be relatively below any type of molten temperature, but it's just, there's other characteristics about it that just don't seem to make sense, and it's hard to describe, but anyways, so about this picture, I clicked on the link, which brought me to the FEMA website, and you're going to love this stuff. I mean, this is what conspiracies are made out of right here. Couldn't really believe it, but hey, here's some more pictures from the Valley Fire. Similar scale of destruction, and metals all twisted up. Here's a picture of missing nuts on the bolts, studs stripped bare into the masonry. There should be some type of ledger plate on top of there that is bolted down, and it's just kind of strange. But you know, that's the type of thing, you know, those little details that you see that just don't seem to fit or make sense. Maybe there aren't any nuts on the bolts for whatever reason. You know, aluminum nuts, I don't know. So, but anyways, that's just some interesting photographs of the Valley Fire, California, 2015. But here is what's really quite interesting. Car engines melted into rivers of alloy metal. Let's read along the caption at the bottom of this picture. Recent catastrophic wildfires ripped through the area, engulfing cars and everything in the path. The fire temperature, exacerbated by nanometals, burns hotter than organic materials, which can reach high temperatures, nice typo, able to melt engine blocks and alloy wheels into streams of molten metal. Where do they come up with this? They don't even take the time to proofread. FEMA. So this is not NBC making up fake news to distract the population. This is the government making some bizarre, speculative statements to fill in the blank. What is it trying to do? Exacerbating conspiracy theories, perhaps?
This is really getting out in such a way that they can't control it. They must just be really, if you can use the expression, shitting themselves over this, because they can't control people now talking about the elephant in the room, what is so obvious to all of us.